Just now, one lady said she just came from England for a visit of her family. So not only the monks are very international, you also very international. But then, what does it mean to come from Malaysia, from Austria, from England? What are the differences? In fact, the Buddha often uses the framework of the 5 aggregates for analyzing. 5 aggregates, I'm sure we have all heard and we know about them. What are they? Let us just quickly recap. What are the 5 aggregates? Body, feelings, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. So these are the 5 aggregates. And then which of the 5 aggregates are particularly Malaysian? Which one is the most Austrian? Which one are the English aggregates? They're the same, right? The same functionality. Doesn't matter where you're born, what's your background, what's your race, what's your upbringing, whether you're young or old. 5 aggregates are 5 aggregates. They always fulfill the same function. Body made up of the 4 elements. Same for everyone. Of course, we can see a younger body, older body, but in the end, it's still just 4 elements. Just the combination is a bit different, but then the essence, it's the same. Feelings also, pleasant feelings, unpleasant, and neutral feelings. Which one of those 3 is particularly Austrian? I don't know. They're the same. The same for perception. You look at a tree, the mind understands. The label, tree, table, chair. This is our perceptions. Or when you hear sound, the birds, birds. But this is also very universal, isn't it? Perception, volitional formations. I like this, I don't like that. So everybody has volitional formations, preferences, likes and dislikes. So that also is very universal. And then consciousness. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. Again, also it seems very universal. So it seems when we speak of the 5 aggregates, we cannot say anyone particularly which nationality or which background, education level, it's all the same. So that's why the Buddha often uses the framework of the 5 aggregates for his analyzing. Particularly when he wants us to investigate into 3 things. What are they? Anicca, impermanence, suffering, unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, yes, and non-self. So anicca, dukkha, anatta. So very often the Buddha would point and investigate or ask the monks and the devotees to investigate into these 3 characteristics in relation to the 5 aggregates. So then how can we see the impermanent nature of the body? Any way to find that out? How can you see the impermanent nature? Well, sometimes you can just look in the mirror and compare the image with maybe 10 years ago from a picture. Maybe you can see a difference. If you can't see, you just ask your husband. Other people can see. Or especially people who have not met you for a long time, maybe an old school friend, sometimes we can barely recognize. Wow, are you sure we went to school together? So we can see change, impermanent happening very clearly on the body level. But then how about the other aggregates? Maybe it's more difficult or more easy. What do you think? Is it more difficult to see impermanence of feeling and perception compared to the body? Or is it more easy? Easy. How do you see the impermanence of feeling? Yeah. One moment you see something you like. Oh, you have pleasant feeling, right? Drink that you like, or food that you like, or a person whom you like. Pleasant feeling will be accompanied. But then the person goes away, the pleasant feeling also goes away. Becomes neutral, or maybe even unpleasant. Depends. Depends on how much craving we have. If you have a lot of craving for things that are changing, if you want to crave and hold on to them, then surely suffering will come. Unpleasant feeling. So, feeling is changing all the time. The same for perception, isn't it? You see a tree, and then you hear something else. I hear a bird, perception, now bird, not tree anymore. Now you are thinking of the Dhamma, but then soon you will try to find your car. So then there will be the perception car or road. So many perceptions coming and going all the time. In fact, the change of feeling and perception is even easier to see, I agree, compared to the body. Because the body changes a bit more slowly. So it's not that you look in the mirror, then next second you look again and wow, quite a change from one moment to another. Hopefully not so quickly. So that is much more gradual. Yes, change is happening even from one moment to another, but it's so minute that we cannot discern it with our naked eye. Maybe under the microscope, you can see the cells moving, changing, then you can. But most of us, we are not always having a microscope with us. So this one, we have to take a larger time frame. But we all know that the body is impermanent, and every now and then we can witness the impermanent or even the ceasing nature of the body when a close family member or a friend passes away. So this is also a testimony of the impermanent nature of the body. So feeling, perception. How about volition? Our intentions. I want this, I don't like something. Again, it depends on what we are seeing, what we are hearing. The volition that arises will change. For example, if you're thirsty, you might want to drink a cup of water. Then at first you have a volition, an intention. I would like to drink. But then while drinking, and once you're finished, the volition also goes away. You don't want to keep drinking indefinitely. So once you have fulfilled your desire or your wish, the wish goes away. So the intention to do something also changes and goes away. So then lastly, how about consciousness? Consciousness, seeing, hearing. Now often we think we are seeing, hearing, everything at the same time, isn't it? Like right now, you are listening to the Dhamma, and at the same time you can see what is going on. Well, it's not much going on, but at least something you can see. So there's seeing, hearing, smelling, maybe not so much, hopefully. Tasting, also currently not happening. Touching sensations on the body, you can feel. You can feel the heat or the coolness coming from the air. You can feel how the feet press against the floor or the bottom presses against the cushion. So we have body sensations. But actually the body and the consciousness is very fast. It's going from one sense door to another very quickly. So at the moment where you feel your body sensation, during that moment, actually you're not really hearing. When you pay attention to feeling the body sensation, at that time you're actually not listening carefully. And at the time when you're really seeing, oh, there's a red cushion, at the time also you forget for a short moment about your body sensation. So the body and the consciousness is very fast. So we have sometimes the illusion as if we can perceive and sense many things at the same time. But really speaking, it's actually not the case. In fact, even the police already know we cannot do many things at the same time. Huh? So when you drive the car and they catch you on the phone at the same time, in Austria they will fine us. Here also same here, right? So even though we might think, oh no, I'm multitasking, I can do two things at the same time. I can drive and talk and hold the phone. Sure, I can do. Well, you can do it good enough not to drop the phone, but actually the attention is divided. At the time when you're really considering carefully what to say, at that time you're not really paying attention to the road. And even if a small animal somewhere in the distance wants to run over the road, the mind does not register it. Whereas if you put full attention to the road, that time you would notice it. So that's why we have these laws to prevent us from multitasking, because really, actually, we cannot multitask. We have only one CPU in our mind. We have only one sense consciousness. So even though it can take out different functions, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, but only one at a time, because we have only one consciousness aggregate. So if you want to do real multitasking, you would need to have everything double and triple. Multiple feelings, multiple perceptions, multiple consciousness aggregates. But we don't have only single core CPU. So I can only experience one thing at a time. So that's why we have these kind of laws to prevent us from doing dangerous things. So the Buddha often encourages the monks and nuns and the disciples to investigate into this impermanent nature of the 5 aggregates. So this one you can investigate and see actually quite clearly immediately, the impermanent nature. But it's interesting, the unsatisfactory nature and also the non-self nature is not as direct or as easy to see compared to the impermanent. Impermanent you just observe, right? The feelings, the perceptions, they come and go. You can observe quite easily. Whereas if you want to understand the unsatisfactory nature, you have to do a little bit more processing. So you can see change happening, and therefore the mind concludes, oh, this thing is changing all the time. It cannot satisfy me, it cannot gratify me permanently. Because if it changes, now I can have a pleasant feeling, but if it changes, it will become unpleasant. So even the pleasant feeling is not satisfying, cannot give me lasting, permanent happiness. So therefore we will call it unsatisfactory. Cannot give us lasting happiness. Do you know the Rolling Stones? Yes? Mick Jagger, the famous singer from the Rolling Stones, he was singing the famous song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. I'm sure many of us will know. So he's singing, he cannot get any satisfaction. Even though, as a famous singer, he has access to all kinds of pleasure you can imagine. We know a little bit from his lifestyle, he's tried it all out. Drugs, alcohol, womanizing, and whatever, food and drinks. Yet, he says he cannot get satisfaction out of it. There's no end to sense pleasures. So if even Mick Jagger cannot get satisfaction, we don't even have to try, because he has surely much more access to sense pleasures than any one of us here. Yet, he cannot become happy, satisfied, gratified on account of that. So sense pleasures are obviously not the solution for happiness. So they are unsatisfactory. Can't get no satisfaction. So this one is not enough just to watch phenomena. You also have to investigate and contemplate. Which experience can give me lasting happiness? So nice food or good drink. So what is it? And then you have to, the mind realizes, no, actually, it's not satisfying. Even if you eat your favorite dish, I've seen now it's durian season, it seems. So even you get the best durian, just ripe and the highest grade. But even that, if you eat 3, 4, 5, 6, there comes a point where even you would say, oh, thank you, I have enough now. So even that is not satisfying and gratifying. You cannot just keep consuming, and it doesn't give you the same type of pleasure that maybe the first bite is giving you. So nothing is able to satisfy, gratify permanently. And even so, after a good meal, you might find, okay, now I am satisfied. But then just wait a few hours, and then you become hungry again. So eating, drinking, bodily experiences, none of them can ever be gratifying. So this is what the Buddha encourages us to investigate. Can these things really give us lasting happiness? And seeing again and again and investigating, no, actually not. The mind becomes gradually more and more disenchanted, dispassionate. Actually, I don't need this. I don't have to drive half through the city to get the special type of food or drinks, because it's not going to satisfy me anyway on the long run. It's not worth the time, worth the effort, worth the money. For what purpose? So by seeing again and again, the mind becomes then more contented, more peaceful. It does not run so much after all the sensual pleasures that it thinks it needs to have. So the life becomes very easy, very, very calm, and very contented. So just imagine being fully contented, fully satisfied, because the mind realizes it doesn't need anything from outside. How nice. And then the same also is the case with the non-self nature. We can investigate whether it is a core, a self, a soul. That too takes a little bit more time and investigation than just seeing impermanence. Impermanence, easy to see, but for dukkha and anatta, we need to do a bit more investigation. Maybe we'll touch more on the third aspect next time, on the anatta. Okay? So we leave it at that for today, and I offer that for your reflection.